this a metal thing?
Yes. A little taste.
David, what is this?
It's pretty thick.
Great.
Have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers big tits. Mistletoe alert. This is backcountry.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Ugo be pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, you're such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso. Horror.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk Plus. That's right, folks. We've transcended genre boundaries and sometimes cover other movies. Science has shown that genre is a spectrum, and we aim to explore the full rainbow. So make sure you rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Full video available on YouTube. Don't be a square. Make sure to share. Also check out patreon.com/horrormovietalk. That's the equivalent of the adult section in your video rental store where you can see all the things that your parents don't want you to see. If you want to add your pee to the community pool, go to horrormovietalk.com or call 682-253-4468 and leave us a voicemail, and you can talk to us directly. We might play your voice on a future episode. As always, we have Fart Simpson crammed into the production booth, and I'm Bryce, and across from me sits Island Boy David Day and special guest, comedian, writer, and co-host of Crooked Media's Ruined podcast, Halle Kiefer.
Oh, hi.
Everyone welcome Halle Kiefer.
Thank you for having me. Just play that for 45 minutes. I would love that.
We're big on the neck action here, you know. We're just
Oh yeah, neck up
That's
dancing.
that's all I do. Is all above the shoulders dancing.
That's what the internet has given us. That's what podcast has given us. Upper body dancing.
Yeah.
So Ruined podcast, how long has Ruined been going on, Halle?
You know, God, we formally launched in, I think it was summer 2020 during the pandemic. But my co-host Allison Libby and I had been working on it, I would say 2 years, but like, I don't know, it's like everyone has 3 jobs. So it was like it's like, okay, try to do it. Then we recorded some episodes ourselves. They sounded horrible. So then it's like, well, shit, and so we started working with a friend, producer Sam, who helped us. And then eventually we, and this was, it was so recently, I was probably like 2018, we started talking to the production company that still does it, which is Irony Point. And which is like, it's interesting how quickly the podcast industry has changed, because when we were pitching it to them, I don't know, like I it's so weird. I don't even know what podcasting is now, but at the time it was sort of like, oh yeah, okay, we could do a podcast. And then the pandemic, we were going to launch that spring 2020, but then the pandemic happened. So finally in August of 2020, we came out with the first episode. So.
And tell the viewers or the listeners, whichever they're doing, what's the format of Ruined?
So, like we kind of discussed, sort of similar, or seemingly similar, where Allison hates horror movies, and we'll sort of discuss, David, apparently you no longer watch horror movies. And Allison, it's so viscerally upsetting to her. She has horrible nightmares. And because the podcast, I've talked to a lot of people who have that experience. And I think that's an interesting thing the human brain does. But also, like, yeah, your brain doesn't know it's not real. Like, it's not real. But, that part of your brain that's like, yeah, I don't want to see someone disemboweled. It's like, yeah, as someone who loves that, I get it, So Allison cannot watch horror movies. So I love them, obviously. And then I sort of recap them. And at least in our format, I sort of ask her, guess the twist. Who, like, what would you do at this point in the movie? Who do you think is going to survive? Just sort of like, just talk about if you were an actual person, what would you do in these scenarios? And then go from there. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting because she really can't. Like, even watching the trailers, it's really hard for her. I think the Hereditary trailer, like, gave her nightmares. I don't know. And then it also makes me feel like, I guess I really am on some level a pervert, because I'm like, this does not affect me. If anything, it puts a smile on my face, puts a spring in my step, and I just accept that about myself. So, and I'm assuming you gentlemen have also accepted that about yourselves, respectively.
Yeah, I mean, I think the visceral reaction and having, like, the anxiety attacks from, like, subconsciously thinking, like, this is real and I don't want to see this. I don't know what that says about me, that my subconscious is like, no, I'm on board.
Yeah, no, that seems about right. Yeah.
I would love to see someone stabbed right in front of me.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I guess my browsing history might betray that a little too, but...
I'll betray a lot more than that.
Well, I'm sure we'll get into that in the segment, where I call 911 at the end of this.
Right. No, we had a segment where I would play internet clips to David, and it was like, it was nothing to me seeing, industrial accidents or something, and David just like...
Some guy getting sucked into a lathe, and Bryce is like...
Well, it's
I'm like, oh my God!
Yeah, because I feel like I can't watch I used to really like true crime, and I really got to the point, because have you guys ever listened to or are familiar with Last Podcast on the Left?
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to that for years, and then there were a couple episodes where they played real audio of 911 calls, and I was like, nah, I'm done. I can't, that shit, because that is real. Like horror, I'm like, sure, I know they're cameramen just out of frame. The true crime of it all, but I was thinking, and I feel like, I don't want to presume your ages, but I'm assuming you're millennials, where like that era of the internet where I remember going to rotten.com and just fucking watching anything. Yeah. And like our parents were not prepared for the internet and had no idea what was going on, but also our peers didn't know. So it's sort of like, I just remember seeing horrible shit. And I do think there is something where that Wild West time of the internet, like you can still sort of see the fingerprints of that on a lot of things.
Yeah.
You can still find those places.
Oh, sure.
So I'm interested. Presume our ages. Dan.
Well, I was going to say like 35.
Okay, good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, how old are you guys actually?
I'm 41.
He's so gross.
So I don't count myself as a millennial. I'm too cool for that.
Okay, good. Are you Gen X?
Technically, he falls into the millennial category. I just refuse. He's a self-hating.
I'm an elder millennial or a exennial or whatever.
He likes coining terms and being special. So. I'm 38. What can we ask?
No, I'm 39. So that's why I'm like, I think we're all the same age.
Yeah.
And I think I'm like the cutoff for the oldest, or like, I think you might be like, whatever is like 84, 82 is like the cutoff for millennial. But I do think the difference is when we got the internet, because to me, it's like Gen X, you were already kind of an adult. For me, it's like, yeah, we didn't have iPhones, but I was on the internet in middle school. Like it was that like early enough that it probably did some damage. I don't know.
Bryce was filthy rich as a kid, so he had the internet years before
I'm
you.
sorry, what, Bryce? The truth comes out of Nepo Baby.
Filthy rich. They had a 14.4K connection back in '91.
Living high on the hog, Bryce.
No, I was strong on AOL and in dangerous chat rooms when I was in middle school.
Yeah, like the only reason I wasn't in it earlier is because I lived in a rural area. We literally didn't have the internet. So it's like, and then we got dial-up, so you couldn't be on the internet, right, in the same way. But yeah, people talk about being on the internet in the 90s. It is, again, that I think of, when I was on the internet as the Wild West, like the 90s, it was just like mayhem, sort of.
Right.
We didn't have the internet because we were in a rural area too, which I'm now realizing is just code for we were poor.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's a complicated. Well, because now I feel like if you live in a rural area, like, I don't know.
Yeah, now you're rich. It's switched.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Anyways, let's hop into the episode a little bit. We'll finish our intro. For anyone that's new to the podcast, we start out by giving a brief review and a score for the movie. This episode, we're going to be reviewing The Blackening, which is out in theaters now. We score on a scale of 1 to 10. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. So if you haven't seen it yet, you can bounce and come back and listen to the spoiler section later if you don't want it spoiled. And then later on, we'll be playing a game, or David and Hallie will be playing a game called I Know Black People quiz.
Okay. This will go well. This is
I stole
this is a good
from
idea,
the
Bryce.
This is great.
I'll do my best.
We'll see who knows black people more.
Okay.
I took it yesterday, and I got 50%. So that's that's the number to beat.
Yeah, I was going to say probably won't, but go ahead.
Okay. So let's talk about this movie. The Blackening is in theaters right now. It's about 7 black college friends who go away for the weekend to have a kind of reunion and celebrate Juneteenth together. They get trapped in a game room with a game in the center featuring a black-faced head that instructs them to answer black culture trivia questions or die. They soon find out that the entire cabin they're staying in is being controlled by a killer with a vendetta. Will street smarts and knowledge of horror movies help them stay alive? Probably not. So with a tagline like, they can't all die first, you kind of know what you're going into. It's going to be a tongue-in-cheek horror comedy. The meta humor and fourth wall breaks are frequent throughout the film. In terms of tone, it lands somewhere between Scream and Tucker and Dale versus Evil, with like a couple characters taken straight out of Scary Movie. It follows the slasher trope of assembling a motley crew of characters that are possible fodder for the killer. In this movie, those characters include a gay black man, an African immigrant, a reformed gangster, a mixed-race woman, and the most broad character being the black nerd that, quote-unquote, acts white. Think Carlton Banks. Most of the first act features utilitarian expositional dialogue to set up all the characters and their relationships. And while the characters and plot are simple, they do go slightly beyond most Friday the 13th movies or most slashers in terms of depth, but that's a pretty low bar to set, to be honest. What's most important in the film is the humor. It does stand out. I laughed multiple times and had a good time overall. A lot of the jokes are around stereotypes and black culture, but the best ones are grounded in the specific situation and character, and are sprinkled throughout. I didn't have any like real groaners, or it didn't feel too, there was a danger to delve into sitcom humor, and they didn't indulge in that too much.
What do you mean when you say that?
Well, like a bad sitcom, which is like just very obvious jokes and very like much like, hey, this character wouldn't do that, would he? I don't know.
Cue laugh track, yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like there's always an image, I don't know if you guys seen it online, where it's like from the Workaholics writer's room, where it's like, here are all the jokes you're not allowed to make, and it's like a really random, like that kind of joke, like that happened. And I feel like I agree, like there were jokes.
He's standing behind me right now, isn't he?
He's behind me, isn't he? And I do agree, like they avoided that. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
I love this, and I think this speaks to, it is a horror movie, but it is a horror movie in my mind of the scary movie. Like it is the lineage of a scary movie, and I think it really depends on your love of that. Because if you're like, I really want an actual horror movie, this movie isn't for you. As someone who absolutely loves that shit, I love like a horror comedy that is a comedy. I thought this was a blast, and I also saw it in a crowded theater where people were like laughing the whole, and it just really did. Like I would have laughed anyways, but like I do think it made it such a better experience. Go to the movies, everyone, if you can. So I think it's like, as someone who loves an actual horror comedy, and there just aren't that many of them. And I do want to ask you guys if you also write horror movies, because I think I had an experience where I was trying to pitch a horror comedy, and basically like the feedback I got was like, we're just not doing horror comedies because they don't think the audience is big enough. Like, we'd rather you just take this and make it an actual horror movie. And I love that goofy, like, that's what I love. So I really admired the fact that they even got this made. I was like, who's doing this kind of movie? So that's where I was coming from, where like, I love this shit. And so I think I liked it more versus someone who was like, oh, I actually wanted this to be a really scary horror movie. Because this is not, then you're probably not going to like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's so weird that there'd be a hesitancy to do comedy horror, because some of the biggest horror movies in the last decade are comedy horror movies.
I know. I think it speaks to, like, you see like what's happening in the industry right now, where it's like, I don't think that a lot of people who are making calls have good judgment about what audiences would actually see. and then they make what they want to make.
Whoa.
I know. Could you? Oh God!
You don't want to hear the
shocking!
origin. You
Cancel
don't want to hear the
me!
origin story of the Flamin' Hot
Cancel
Cheetos.
me! No, seriously.
What is happening right now? How could you say
Okay.
something so brave and yet so
So
daring?
I am standing up. I am speaking my truth. But I will say, because I'm assuming you guys all saw it in theater, right?
I did.
Okay.
David
I
did
didn't
not.
watch it because I'm too scared.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that. Because I think that is interesting. But no, just mean like in terms of like what moments were scary in this movie. But I think that before, Bryce, I don't know what the trailers you saw before. Watching the trailers before this movie, I was like, cinema is dead. And specifically the movie I will call out is a movie called Strays, where it is all CGI dogs, but they're like bad. And literally they're like, I'm going to bite my owner's dick off. And I'm like, it's like Martin Scorsese should just like give up. Like it was so, all of it was so bleak. It's all jokes like about like American Pie. Like it's just sort of like, this was either written by ChatGPT or written by a 55-year-old. Not that age matters. I think you could be an older person and have like relevant, interesting, funny things to
Will
say,
Ferrell.
obviously. But like this was written by a committee of people who are executives, not writers.
It's
And,
okay to say Tyler Perry. You can say it.
I mean, Tyler Perry at least is like, listen, I saw Medea's Halloween 1 and 2. Are they good? No, but I've seen worse movies, okay? And so watching the trailers, I think, also set me up to like this movie more. Because I was watching this shit, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me that this is what's coming out. And then at least to me, the Blackening was like, it's funny. I think there was good acting. Like the comedic acting was good. I don't know. I'm like, watch the Strays trailer if you're listening to this. It's shocking how fucking horrible it looks, I thought.
Yeah, I mean the Strays trailer. I mean it reminds. It's this weird like genre of. No, this is a straight ahead children's movie premise and style, but it's for adults. So like,
Yes.
What was the movie about the food fucking?
A Sausage
Like
Party. It's
Sausage Party.
Oh my gosh, I hate that movie so much.
Me too.
I'm sorry.
And maybe there is, like, that to me is like, you don't want to make a horror comedy, but you will make Strays? I cannot believe there's a bigger audience for Strays than a horror comedy. I refuse to believe that.
I imagine like going into a studio with a horror comedy script and then just going like, we like it. We love everything about it. Could you make it a superhero movie?
I'm sure that someone has been told that. I'm everything insane you could be told. I'm sure someone has heard it.
Yeah, the crazy thing about the shortage of horror comedies to me is that we live in an age of streaming. You know, like Netflix exists and does nothing but produce its own original move. Like that's its only move now. Like it just is the dog that flips. And so it's like what why aren't there more? And maybe there are, and it's just buried in my Netflix queue. But
I think we're ripe for another scary movie. I wish those guys would just make another one because like
100%.
no one's gone after or done any meta, movie about like the recent, elevated horror genre.
Right, a parody of Hereditary. I want to see it. I would love
Hereditary,
to see that.
The Witch, like
that'd be
all
so
those,
fun.
like, and Scream, like I thought they were gonna try the Scream 6. I thought they were gonna go after it a little bit, and they just didn't.
I was so disappointed. And I'll see every Scream movie. It is what it is. Like I even liked 5 after watching 6. I feel like I was like 5. I'm like okay, because I really liked 4, and then watching 6, it's like well. But I unfortunately think all of this goes back to like the people who are making these decisions. I think to your point, It's like you have. Why did you build a streaming service if you're going to be like, we will just use existing IP? We're gonna
gotta play it safe here, people.
It's like, don't we understand that? Like, I don't know, especially in a very competitive. Like, there's so many places to watch things. You're gonna make the least interesting thing. Like that makes no sense. But obviously, we're on the other side of it, where it's like, pay me to write it. Like I have some ideas. Listen to me.
Hallie, what do you give it out of 10?
I'm gonna give it a 7, and because I'm using a horror comedy scale, and I'm sorry, scary movies at a 10 for me, so I would say 7. But I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I saw it in theaters. I think Dwayne Perkins hilarious, and I love Jermaine Fowler, and actually worked on a show with him like 10 years ago, and I've always thought that he was like a very talented, weird character actor. So it was just nice to have someone be like, I'm going to make a weird swing and be this weird Dahmer type character. That was fun. I enjoy, or like present, like not that he ends up Dahmering, but like he is like, oh yeah, that's a weird swing of a character, and I thought it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right in line with you. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Like it's a good movie. It like accomplishes what it sets out to do. It's not like it didn't like overwhelm my expectations or anything, and it's not something that I'd say like necessarily rush out to see it in the theater. But I will say, if you're going to see it, you should see it in the theater with other people. Like it definitely adds to the experience. I saw it on Thursday night. Not a huge crowd, but enough to like, accentuate the laughs and stuff. So it was fun time. Okay. Speaking of fun times, if you're listening to commercials, you should know you don't have to. You can go to our patreon.com/horror movie talk and join us there. And there's a certain tier where you don't have to listen to commercials anymore, and you get advanced access to the episodes as soon as they're edited. You can also support the show by going to our shop at horrormovietalk.com/shop. Also check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel, on Instagram at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00. And ask him for some commissions. He's a busy guy, but he'll probably do it for fans of Horror Movie Talk.
Did you see he started doing tattoos?
Did he really? He's actually tattooing?
So they have these
tattoos.
They have these sheets of like faux skin that you can start practicing on. And of course he did an amazing job, but guess what his first subject was? Taz. Taz.
Oh, we got to bring those back. Whenever
It's gotta be a Taz tattoo.
In the 90s, whenever it had a Looney Tunes tattoo, let's do it again. That was fun. Like when
You know
Taz is
you're
like
in-
this. Yeah, we got to do
You
it.
know you're in for a good time when you meet someone with a Taz tattoo.
A Taz tramp stamp. We should bring
Hell
it back.
yeah. Oh, the whirlwind.
Oh, you got it. He's got to be in a whirlwind, man.
Oh.
I've only got one tattoo, and it's Calvin peeing on my dick.
Nice.
No.
I believed you. I still believe
That
you.
would be I really want that tattoo now. Calvin peeing on my dick.
Oh, sorry, mid-roll. Also, if you want to call us, leave us a message at 682-253-4468. Let's get into spoilers, fam.
I hope Fart just cuts up your voice and has you saying that over and over again. That's my favorite thing you've ever said. Congratulations.
Okay, so let's get into spoilers, fam. You said Jermaine Fowler before, the guy that played Clifton?
Yeah,
Wait a minute. Let's not sleep on all this. What's going on here? You're some sort of... You're working with actors and stuff?
Gentlemen, I've had so many careers. I have lived so many lives. But yeah, I worked on a show called Friends of the People on True TV. God, this must have been 10 years ago. Back when, like people were still trying to do original comedies. Like, I feel like, like Comedy Central doesn't really do original live comedies anymore, So I think True TV was trying to do, it was like us and another original comedy they were trying to do. And again, it's weird how quickly TV changed. But yeah, I worked on this, and it was like Jermaine Fowler, Rel Howery, the Lucas brothers, a very funny comedian, Kevin Barnett, who sadly passed away, and a couple other people. And so I do think maybe I will do a little bit better on the Black Quiz. But Jermaine Fowler is just, like, I have nothing but good things to say about him. And obviously, like, he was acting on the show. But, yeah, he's incredibly talented. And it's like, I did Comedy New York, so it was like, there were just a bunch of, different jobs and shows that I don't know really if they exist anymore, unfortunately. But, yeah, I know him from back in the day, and it was really nice to see him. I don't think I even realized he was in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, like, recognizable actors, there's not, I mean, for me, there's not a lot other than the two that they wink at the camera and saying, like, These Are the Most Famous, which was Jay Farrow and Yvonne Orji. And Jay Farrow, of course, from SNL, and Yvonne is from, I think she was in Insecure. Is that right? Yeah. She's one of the main characters in Insecure, which is a great series, by the way. This movie is written by Tracy Oliver and Dwayne Perkins. Dwayne Perkins was the gay character in the movie, the actor. Have you worked with them before, Tracy Oliver or Dwayne Perkins?
No, but I followed Dwayne Perkins for a long time on Twitter, and I want to say maybe he did UCB or Second City or something like that. Like, he had some comedy connection, so I knew about him for a long time, but I only know him like through the internet, but always thought he was super funny. And it was nice, like, you know, I'm like, to come up with an idea to be able to star in your own movie, like, as a gay black man, again, I'm like, that's amazing. I don't know how they got this. I just feel like it's so hard to make a movie that got made. It just makes me really happy that they were able to do it. I also thought he was hilarious. I thought, like, everyone in it was really funny, and I don't know, nobody was sort of like, there was no weak link, I didn't feel like. Right.
Yeah. I mean, as much as there's not like super recognizable actors, like they all did really well. You know, it's a slasher, so it's not like they're gonna win any Peabody Awards or anything with the dialogue, but it's serviceable, and the characters are filled out enough to where it feels real and not like just killer fodder. So it starts out with the most famous actors again, Jay Farrow and Yvonne, and they arrive at this cabin and they find the Blackening game, which is this board game with, at the center is the little blackface Sambo character with a speaker in it, and so their reactions are, you know, what you would expect. And it starts talking to them, and then very quickly, like, they get murdered or, you know, sucked into the sunken place. And that's the cold open. But my favorite part is, well, number one, like, it opens with the text of, "The following is based on true events, ... that never happened," which is probably one of the most mockable horror movie tropes. It's just like, this is based on true events, right? Like,
we had to film it, and therefore it happened, but not in reality. But in reality,
like every Conjuring movie, I imagine like what the truth behind the story is, you know, which is just like a bunch of people sitting around at the table yelling at ghosts that aren't there, versus like, you know, actual,
right,
you know,
yeah, it's just like someone
attacking.
grifting people who genuinely are in some sort of distress and telling them it's ghosts. Like, it's like, let's be honest, I cannot stand the Conjuring movies, and that is part of it. Oh, I'm sorry, we can't criticize one of the most popular franchises, but you know what I mean. Like, it's just
I didn't say anything. You went off on me. I feel attacked.
No, I'm sorry, and I know that you wrote and directed all the Conjuring movies, and I am sorry that I had to come at you like that.
I am cut to my core.
Cut to the quick.
Oh man. So it's so what you're telling me is the Blackening is based on Jumanji.
Yes.
Exactly.
Huh.
Which did happen. We all know the events of Jumanji did actually happen. So that's,
But it turned, you know, when you finish the game, it goes back to how it was before. So
exactly.
Does it do that in this?
Yeah, at the end of the movie, Robin Williams comes back to life. And you're like, I don't know if I get the connection, but I'm glad to see him again.
It was a black Robin Williams, and so just, you know,
super inappropriate.
Basically just looked like a sheep at a certain point.
Super
just
inappropriate.
very, very hairy guy. And let's see. And then the other thing that they did that was great, like the great joke that landed, was they talked about Scream. Was it Scream 2 that had what was it, Taye Diggs or
and Jada Pinkett Smith and Omar Epps.
Omar Epps, that's right. And they like and they said, "Oh no, but they were only in like the first scene of the movie. Like, I don't think they had budget for the most famous people for the whole movie." And then they're just like, pause for effect, because they immediately got murdered after that.
And it's interesting too. Again, maybe it constitutes a spoiler, but it's when you see like who are the most famous people who are on the cast, then it is like so many movies now where it's like if you get a more famous person, you know they're going to be important to the plot. You're not going to waste your money on someone who's not going to. You're going to get more out of them, you know.
Quick side question here: what is Will and Jada's now? Like, where are they relegated to something, or do things go back to normal?
I like how chaotic they're living as super famous people. I like remember when she came out and was like, I had an affair with a much younger man, and they sat down at the red table. I didn't watch all of Red Table Talk, but boy, I watched a lot of them because I was like, this is mess that like most famous people do not want to put out. And they are doing it.
How she sits down, looks her husband in the eye in public and goes, "How does it feel that I cheated on you?" And he's like, it's like, what is happening?
But also, like, he is clearly that person too. Like, he also wants to have that conversation. And I don't know whether it's like that's just who they are naturally, or they've been famous for so long they're like, we might as well do this in public because it's already kind of out. But it's very interesting to watch. I don't know.
But it's on like the worst platform. It's on like Yahoo's.
It was on Facebook, and I think Facebook
Crackle or something.
When Facebook was trying to do originals, and it just everywhere was trying to. It's what a mess the last like 5 to 8 years have been for like anyone trying to make anything. It's like, yeah, maybe Facebook's TV. It's like, okay, I guess. Like, what are we talking about?
So, do they get to go and are they continue to be big?
They're together.
Stars?
Oh,
like, what happens?
I mean, I think so. I don't think I'm watching a Will Smith movie. I don't get whatever they want to do. I don't care. He's a star.
It's physical assault.
Oh,
we're already past it.
We're past
David,
it. Okay.
within 13 minutes, he got an Academy Award, and everyone stood up and clapped. So
that's true.
I don't think he's got too much to worry about.
I'm just curious how it plays out. I just want bets.
I mean, it's a good question.
I know.
So the movie pretty quickly just like gets set in the tracks of like a Friday the 13th style slasher movie. It even has like the generic slasher gas station. It doesn't have the what's it called? The guy that's a bad omen,
like the Oracle. I love that shit.
Yeah,
I know they should have
the
it should have been one of the guys at the the gas station. I love that character. It is so good.
Yeah, would have been not out of place in here.
And also a way to get like I might like an older black character actor, get like Keith David in there for like 15 minutes and have him be like, "Don't go on vacation, like don't go to the party or whatever." That would have been fun.
Right. Danny Glover just like he got invited, but he was too old for this shit. He's like, "Don't go down there. Don't go to where white people are. That's not good." So they make their way, and we see a couple different groups of people as they arrive. The kind of the main group, or the main main 3 or 4. There's Lisa, and was it Allison? Yeah, Lisa and Allison were 2 friends, and they're driving, and Lisa is keeping a secret that she's having a relationship with a ex-boyfriend that Dwayne is not a big fan of. So and they introduce like a what's it called? I'm trying to think of the word that I'm trying to think of. A gimmick. Like, I mean, they introduce a gimmick where they are able to have full conversations just with looking each other in the eye.
Yeah, you hear their like their inner dialogue with each other. Like they glance at each other, then you sort of hear like what they're trying to exchange. That's a funny running bit in the movie.
Yeah, that's a pretty good running bit. They arrive at the cabin and they find that one of the characters, King, played by Melvin Gregg, is being accosted by a cop, which I don't understand why the cop was at a cabin necessarily.
Well,
in
he
the
did
middle
say
of the
he's a
woods.
park ranger, and I think he's like, this house is in a national forest. You have to get permission or something, and then that's why they're like, we have permission. Here's the email. Here's my license, or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And also nice to see Diedrich Bader. Like, that's a fun cameo, as that because
Right,
then you see that you're like, well, we know that guy's gonna come back because you've hired a
Right.
more famous actor.
Yeah, and at this point, like, at this point, it's like, okay, well, here's the obvious, like, red herring for the killer is the cop, but they just have a moment where the cop or the park ranger is suspicious, and then they show him that they have rented the property and everyone there is allowed to be there. And then as everyone arrives, we've got I think I mentioned most of the character types, but the one standout, or the one like kind of oddity, is Clifton.
Right, obviously a
is-
nod to Carlton. Like, as soon as you hear Clifton, it's like, this is
yeah.
Carlton.
I mean, they even I think Shanika when she introduces herself, is like, "Oh, hi, you're Carlton, right?" He's like, "No, Clifton," because she doesn't remember his name. Clifton is kind of a mix of, I mean, definitely Carlton. Physically, he's going after like a Sammy Davis Jr. Vibe, and then towards the end, spoilers, he kind of turns more into like a Heath Ledger Joker.
See, I was gonna say he's Sammy Davis Jr. if Sammy Davis Jr. was also Jeffrey Dahmer, like, because he has like the
Right.
Dahmer glasses on. He's all in like beige, like he's the nerd. Obviously, like he's sort of this, in a way that everyone else is. He's as soon as you see him, you kind of assume like, well, that guy is probably gonna be the killer, just because it's such like I don't know. It's like these kind of horror comedies. I think it's like, it's more about the experience versus like an actual mystery. Because as soon as you came on screen, I'm like, well, okay, we can kind of see where we're going with this.
Right. Yeah.
I just thought of the most inappropriate joke I could ever make, so I have to preface it by saying that.
Oh, yes.
Get
that
ahead
saves
of it and say, I can't say this joke. But it is Pride Month, so it's
Oh, okay.
interesting that you mentioned Jeffrey Dahmer. We are trying to...
Wait, was that the
Not a
joke? That
traditional-
wasn't a joke. Why any stretch of the imagination? What?
Fair.
A reference?
I mean, traditional icon of Gay Pride Month,
Yes,
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Gay
I'm just
icon
saying.
Jeffrey Dahmer. Go ahead and say it. Yes. Yes,
I
Queen.
did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Listen,
We want equal representation in our serial
he's
killers.
in the history books, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is
Right.
Pride.
No, but it is. But and maybe you guys felt this too. But like, I don't, because are you both you guys straight? I guess I shouldn't assume. Tell me your
yes, I am
sexuality.
straight.
We just met.
It's who knows? It's a spectrum.
Okay, gay. But
Mostly.
I think what's interesting is like doing Pride Month horror movies. I definitely was like, oh, I do want to do these movies. These queer people sure get murdered a lot. So it's sort of like, I both want to do them and celebrate them. Also, like, sorry, everyone, if you weren't in the mood for hearing about gay people being stabbed to death. So it is both for Pride Month, unfortunately.
It's a sore spot.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're both mostly straight.
I don't think anyone's it's all on a spectrum. So I don't mean for you to have to label it. Be
Look,
who you
I
want to
grabbed-
be.
My wife just sent me like a sexuality spectrum quiz, and I got like way, like almost the top right corner of straight,
Are you
heteros-
proud of that?
heterosexual, and I was a little offended. I was like,
It feels like a humble brag what you're doing right now.
I mean, I feel like I'm a little more bisexual than that. I could be convinced.
Well, just
but,
take another
you know,
quiz. You know what I mean? I'm
A
sure there are
10
more.
question
Yeah.
quiz is,
Oh no.
Engineer the quiz
you can't
now.
question a 10 question internet quiz.
Yeah.
What about you, Hallie?
I always say that I would say I'm a full lesbian, but I literally please Google comphet, which is compulsory heterosexuality, because like I'd always dated men, and I was actually engaged to a man, a wonderful queer black man. His name is Dave Schilling. We're still good friends. He's a wonderful writer. Follow him on Twitter. And so it's been a really interesting experience coming out. Because I'm not bi at all, but I celebrate all bi people. And I would say, in case you are a woman listening to this, go ahead and Google the Am I a Lesbian Master Doc, which is a PDF you can read online. Gentlemen, you're welcome to read it as well, because it will give you, because you might think it's obvious, but then you read it, you're like, oh no, it turns out I am a lesbian. So that's on me. And in case you're not sure, that sort of was my version of taking the BuzzFeed quiz, is reading a document and being like, oh, okay, that's my bad. I didn't get it.
What was the question that like really sealed the deal?
I think for me, honestly, it's sort of like all these anecdotal like things are like, oh, looking back, it was like my attraction to men, I could turn it on and off. Like I would sort of manually be like, oh, I like this guy, he seems like funny and a nice person, I choose to be attracted to him, versus like it's some organic part of me. I also think like my relationships with men, like it didn't feel different from friendships with men, but I just thought like, yeah, because we're friends. So just stuff like that, like in retrospect, where it's like, oh, I guess that wasn't how other people were doing it, but I wouldn't have, like, I wasn't like asking other women those kinds of questions, because I don't know. How do you know what questions to ask, I suppose? But I think that one for me was like oh, yeah, I guess other people aren't doing that, huh? Well, good to know. So.
Were you ever a Simpsons fan?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Up next. Yeah. For me, that this little Simpsons clip like pretty much describes my relationship with other men, which is up next on the Estrogen Network. Men. Boo. Yeah. So that's how I know I'm mostly straight. Because it just feels like a big boo refrain in my head.
But I feel like for me as a lesbian, I feel more solidarity with men now that I date women. Or not solidarity, but definitely like
you see how difficult they are, and the nag and the nag, and you're like, can you break
the game, bitch?
You're like, can you fucking please break down one cardboard box?
I want to go to
one
Home Depot.
fucking cardboard box.
I don't want to visit
That's
your
all I'm
mother.
asking. Like, oh, I have to break down the kitty litter box every time? It's your cat.
I mean, no, more like in a, oh no, we're all trapped in this system where we're supposed to think of ourselves in these very limited ways. And then dating women, it's like, oh, like, but it's like, it both changed, my sexuality changed, but also how I think about like, just like what we're all like, you know, they do like, oh, if you're a man, you're supposed to act like this, you're a woman, you're supposed to act like this. And then I came out so late that I was like, oh no, all that stuff I thought is made up and I didn't realize it. So I don't know. I just have a lot of sympathy for everybody. I don't know. And not to be like all men are great. It's more that like, oh, we're all driven insane by these expectations around like sexuality and gender. And
we're all just people.
We're all just people. Like, what can we do to just be like people? And I think that's the path forward, gentlemen. Anyways, back to the movie. Sorry, that's my queer
agreement.
But it is some like queerness. I'm like, hey, anything's possible. That's exciting to know, you know. So that's my diatribe.
It's great. You know, yeah. I mean, this is Pride Month. Like, it's a good conversation to have. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's crazy how much you can find out about your sexuality later in life, and you're just like, oh, that's why that doesn't work that way with me. It's like, I'm just not that way.
Versus assuming like, oh, there's something wrong with me, or I'm just like straight, but I'm like broken in some way, which is what I always thought. I'm like, I guess I'm just like, something's wrong with me, and I just like have to accept that.
Why not both?
Yeah. I was like, I want to make a t-shirt, which is like, I was like, oh, I should put on my Tinder profile, but really I should make a t-shirt that says, there's something wrong with me, and I'm working on it. Because I want to be like, no, there's something wrong with me, but I am working on it. So I just want everyone to know that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, back to the movie with Clifton. Like it reminded me. Have you guys ever seen the Key and Peele sketch, the Black Republicans meeting?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
No.
Straight out of that sketch, which is like, it's the Black Republicans meeting, and they all look exactly the same. They all have like the same glasses and have like the what's that jacket called? That was big in the 80s.
Like a bomber jacket.
So they were stereotyping people.
Oh yeah, I guess it was a bomber jacket in that sketch. I was thinking of something else, but yeah, they're all like, and then they would each take turns and get up, and they're like, "I'm pissed. I'm royally pissed." And then, you know, very, very much like, you know, the same type of thing. And this was straight
we all know
out
which
of that
presidential candidate you're thinking of, but can't remember.
And then a couple other things, like they kind of introduce each character and kind of set up the types. They have the I think I went over them already, but we can review some of these. Maybe you can help me, Hallie. Like which ones aren't which I can't label with a stereotype. What are we supposed to take away from them other than they're just normal?
Well, which one are you thinking of? Because
so we got Dwayne, which is the gay black man. Nandi.
Namdi. He's from Africa, or his dad's African. So they sort of talk about him like he's of course, the conversation of who is the blackest comes up, and sort of like you're literally African. You're from Africa. You have this connection to it. And then Lisa is kind of just like I thought she was kind of going to be the final girl because she is the most like just regular person of them. Not regular. Not that you can't, like, whatever, regular.
Whoa.
I know, like,
how dare you.
I was like, why would you invite the whitest person to join you to talk about this movie? But black people probably already know about this movie, so it's good for us to talk about it, because I loved it. So it's like, white people go see this movie if it seems something you'd be interested in.
We live in Washington State. It's just
just for the record, I did try to invite my token black friend, Destiny, that I've known since 4th grade. But he just did not want to see this movie at all.
And look, it's not for everybody, but it was for me. And then, King, because they're like joking about him, like he's a reformed gangster. He married a white woman. He's, whether or not he has a gun on him. And then
Allison was the mixed race girl
who's really defensive about her, sort of like being jokes about her being white and her being like, I'm as black as anyone here. And then Shanika to me was just like party girl. Like Shanika was just like, I'm going to come in and fucking rage. And that's sort of my one joke.
She kind of supplied the whole cast with drugs.
Yes, yeah.
And then I also make a point of King having an interracial relationship, which has another one of my favorite lines, which is Namdi is like talking to him. It's like, man, you deep in the sunken place. And then King goes, yeah, balls deep. Or no, she got you deep in the sunken place, I think was the line.
Yeah, I thought that was super funny. Yeah, it's like everyone has like a different, and that's what comes out of the movie is like everyone has a different like pressure point of like how like having their blackness like questioned, and a lot of them is like their proximity to whiteness. And so that's why Allison is so defensive. And, King, it's like, oh, well, you married a white woman. He's like, I'm not that black. I married a white woman. And they're like, you are not helping yourself. And I don't know. It's sort of like an interesting, like, conversation. That's obviously a conversation amongst black people that we are, like, witnessing. But it's sort of like, I don't know. It all made sense. Like, I don't need to know the specifics to, like, get the jokes. Which kind of reminded me of The Simpsons, because they talk a lot about the game Spades. And I don't know it, and I don't know the rules. But you figure it out from context clues. Like, I don't need them to have to, like, you know what I mean? Explain every joke in order for me. Like, I get what we're talking about, if that makes sense.
Oh, it would be super interesting to see the racial breakdown of those who bought tickets to see this. Is this a movie for black people, enjoyed by black people? Or is this a movie about black people that is primarily enjoyed by a wide audience?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know, again, it's like you're in Washington State. I saw it at the Grove, so I feel like most of the people there were white. But like I don't know, it's like depending on where you see it. And yeah, I think that'd be really interesting. I don't know, there was some, I don't know if the actor was on Dear White People, but there was a black actor on a show where I guess he had been on Netflix, I think, that was told sort of like, don't ad-lib, because when you ad-lib, you're making black jokes and the white audience won't understand it. And I think fundamentally, again, to cite The Simpsons, it's like, they'll get it. Like, the idea that like, and again, like the idea that you should dumb down jokes so that other people won't get it, rather than as a white person, I'll figure it out, or I'll look it up, or like I'll get what we're saying and I'll enjoy it. It's just like, we don't have to make everything dumb. Like you just make the joke and people will figure it out,
And that's what I really appreciate about this movie, because it does that. It doesn't dumb it down. Like the significance of spades, like I have no clue like what that is in black culture. And I will say, like, the movie, it is like, it does feel like a black movie because it's directed by and written by black people. Like, it's that was one thing that I was like, am I going to go to IMDb and find out that it's a bunch of like old Jewish guys that wrote this? And it wasn't. And like, if it had been, it would have been much worse. Like, it would have been very bad. Like, I got to say, like, in terms of like the conversation around diversity in Hollywood and like, I mean, I think the focus on like having a, you know, rainbow coalition in the cast of actors is the less important conversation to have versus having the creators and producers and writers be more diverse. Because I can look at like some just banger shows that like are my favorite shows.
Yeah, dude,
that are
Atlanta.
written, yeah, Atlanta is like such a unique voice, and it's not like pandering. It's not like dumbed down, and it's a new perspective that I'm being exposed to, which is what you want.
Exactly. It's like, and that's, yeah, it's like, why are we doing this? Like, it's like, why make all this content where it strays versus like, it's like, yeah, I'm not black, but the idea that I wouldn't watch a black show, it then creates the black show that white executives thinks that are palatable to us, which is a less good show that even we don't enjoy.
Which is one of the best episodes in Atlanta, is literally the thing that you're describing. I don't know if you've seen the show. Have you seen the show?
No,
Atlanta?
I feel bad. I'm sorry. I know I should.
Oh my
I
God.
only watch horror. I honest to God, like, only watch horror. So that's on me,
Well,
though.
there's some good episodes
It's got some
in
crazy-
Atlanta that are horror episodes.
But
actually.
Bryce, do you remember that episode where they're basically parodying Tyler Perry? And it's that guy who's
Right.
got that film studio, and he's keeping all these people as like slaves, and like to produce like the most racially pandering content you can possibly imagine. And it's all super, just like what we're talking about, all super dishonest and like pandering, and it doesn't trust the audience at all. It's just like, no, people are stupid. Feed them the dumb thing that they want, you know, like.
And I think for me, having come out, the thing that I could sort of like, I understand, or I feel like I understand elements of this from as a queer person now, because as soon as I came out, I'm like, boy, I'm gonna watch like every lesbian movie there is, and I'm like, wow, there really aren't that many, huh? And not a lot of them, but some of the more modern ones are clearly like, how do we make lesbians palatable to straight people? They're gonna be a very specific type of lesbian with a very, like, you're gonna get married at the end of the movie, like, it's gonna be this acceptable version that I think sort of, you know, is true for black people, true of any minority, where it's like, okay, we have to make the movie that the executives who are all white and who have the power to greenlight this are going to let us make. And so Tyler Perry, he got in trouble for non-union stuff, so that I do think is like horrible. It's like, you know what you're doing. But I don't know, there was also something like, I've seen Tyler Perry movies, and it's like, and if there were more variety, I think like it wouldn't be so, every movie wouldn't feel so important, right? And I like some of his movies, like Diary of a Mad Black Woman. I enjoy that movie. But it's interesting who then gets to become a powerhouse and then what they do with that power. Because in my mind, if I had any sort of power whatsoever, if I became more successful, I would only be trying to get the most interesting and unique horror movies made. So it's like the idea that like I would want to accrue wealth versus who are the people under me that are making interesting, cool stuff. Let's help them. And that's not, it's true of Tyler Perry, but it's true of like so many people, white people in Hollywood, where it's like, what are you doing with all this wealth and fame if not being like, I created an empire, I found the next genius or something. Like, that's, I don't know, maybe I'm just too power hungry, but I'm like, that's what I want, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a weird, I mean, the power structures in Hollywood, just like, it's tough to affect change, I think, just because it's, you know, I think in like industries like in music, there's a lot more stories of people being discovered and being nurtured by like people in power or bringing people up, versus Hollywood, because it's just like, there's a lot less control. There's a lot more committees. There's a lot more like executives that just have say of like, no, this is what works. We're going to do what works, which is the same thing we've always been doing.
I feel like everybody willfully ignores the most important lesson about power, which is you think you can handle it. Everybody thinks they
You're
can
right.
handle it.
No, but I can handle it, Dave.
Everybody's
David,
like,
come
oh
on,
yeah,
me."
I'll do the right thing.
You're right.
I'm a moral person. And it's like,
Clearly not.
no,
Exactly.
you
Yeah,
don't
as soon
have
as
power. Yeah. Because you don't have power, dum-dum. You know, it's like David, you would fall prey to all that stuff just like everybody else.
Yeah.
That's
all the
why
decisions around power have very little to do with like personality or like background. It has much more to do with maintaining power.
Yeah, and that's why the good content comes from incredibly creative people.
Yes. Fucking
You know,
weirdos. Fucking weird people that this is their weird idea. And I don't mean like weird in cosmic way. I just mean like someone who's like, I insist
Kanye.
on making. I mean, College Dropout is an untouchable album.
Look,
to this day. It just.
No one's going to argue with that statement that Kanye is incredibly talented. No one's going to argue with the statement that, you know, the people who are incredibly talented just are, and they produce good shit.
Yeah.
They do.
Absolutely. And also nepotism. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a lot of people
sure.
where it's like, not Kanye, but like, I think to your point, like, music is different because you can go and perform at a lower cost to yourself. We can't, like, to go make an indie horror movie, it is still possible, and that's why horror is the best genre, is that you can have these low-budget movies made by people who don't have these connections, but it's still a lot of money and a lot of connections and a lot of work. And then you consider, like, it's someone who, like, a weirdo who wants to make an action movie. It's like, yeah, you're going to have to, what that requires is different than what it means for two people in a slasher or in a, like, you know, a horror movie where it can be of a high quality, you know?
I'm going to ask a question that's going to get us back on track and ask, hey, what are the horror elements of this thing and how do they work?
Yeah, so how they kind of get into it is they are in the house, like after the first act, they after all the introductions and stuff, the creepy house stuff starts happening where they start seeing, you know, shapes move in the shadows outside and inside, and doors close and open, and at a point the lights go out, and so they're all, you know, fumbling around, and they get to this room that was previously locked, and now is unlocked and has a big sign on it that says game room, which is, you know, concerning. Like, no one asked the question, like, did anyone put this up? They just accepted it.
So the two characters we see at the beginning, I think they kind of assume, like, oh, they're playing a prank on us. Like, they set up, because it is like they're getting to, it's like their 10-year anniversary from like this party they had when they were graduating college. And so, like, the couple that arrived there first kind of was, like, decorating. So when they arrived, it is all decorated. So I think when they see the game room, it's like they're doing some weird, like, escape room thing, or, like, oh, they set this up. So that sort of leads them to be willing to start engaging with the game, not understanding that those characters have already been dispatched.
Right, because in the cold opening, Sean and Morgan are... Morgan is just kind of disappears out of frame, but Sean is definitely killed. And so they assume that Sean and Morgan are there or are going to come back from the store or whatever at any time. So the lights go out, they find the game room, and they go in. And there's just a lot of, like, unease and creepiness about it, especially with the game, like that really creepy racist, you know, character in the center.
Yeah, it's like a Sambo type of, like, caricature.
Yeah. And then it starts like basically demanding that they play the game, and then very quickly says, like, you got to answer these 10 questions right or else Morgan will be killed. And they see her on the TV. And so the horror element is basically they've got to play this game or answer to this, you know, disembodied voice, or else one of them's going to get murdered, or they're all going to get murdered. And it goes between that device and just straight up, like, slasher, like, you know, chase, killer with a knife chasing you down. In this case, it was killer with a crossbow. But
I love a
that's, like, the
crossbow
main horror
too.
element.
I thought that was a really
Right.
fun pick for a weapon. I really enjoyed the crossbow. Yeah, more crossbows in horror, I think.
What happened to you? What? Like why?
Gentlemen, I'm sorry. Are you my therapist? Because you sure sound like her. Okay.
No, I'm just asking. It's just a question.
I really, honest to God, sorry, I'm like deep into psychotherapy. So much of my damage is being raised Catholic. So much of this shit
Yeah.
is like the.
Say no more.
You know what I'm talking about. Where you're like, okay, I guess everything's bad. So,
you little 5-year-old? You're going to real hell.
Hey, you know about hell? Guess what? You're gonna go, bitch. And I'm like, well, okay, I guess that's, And I also think for me.
Why? Because you're bad.
Well, and for me,
you know what you should not be doing? The things that come most naturally to everyone that's ever
the most
lived.
natural things in the world. And I do think part of it for me, and again, not to get into psychotherapy at all, but like coming out later, absolutely. Like at what a young age, like they teach you, like you should just be scanning for problems so you could tell them to a priest. And I think so young, I like knew I was queer in some way. And my brain was like, well, we're not dealing with that. And so that was kind of part of the compartmentalization is like, I'm not fucking telling a priest this, so I better stop thinking about it, Unfortunately.
Now the crossbow makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, so now I want to fucking shoot the Pope with a crossbow. I'm kidding. Don't tell the Pope I said it. I actually think this Pope is like one of the better ones, but.
You know how I am with the Pope. We're like this.
All right. Oh, good. So it'll be easier to hit both you with the crossbow.
Oh, what did I do? I just asked what was the matter.
No, but I think that's a large part of it.
Fair. That's as good a reason as any.
So like a couple times in the movie, it's like basically narrowed down in the game to prove who's the blackest. Like
Ooh.
There's at least like 2 times where that's and that's like kind of the most amusing conversation that you can have in this cast of characters too. And they basically all, in the first one of these votes, they basically all turn on Clifton.
Yeah. Well, because he admits that he voted for Trump twice. And as soon as he said, they're like, okay, well, you got to get the hell out of here. None of the rest of us did that. Like, you have dropped so far out of blackness that we will sacrifice you.
Right. So they sacrifice Clifton, and then the game, of course, does not accept that sacrifice as acceptable, and then just starts killing them. And then at the end, where it's revealed what's happened, which we can just spoil right now, which is we find out that there's actually not one but 2 killers, which are like they're twins that they saw at the gas station, or at least one of them they saw that didn't have an eye. And then they find out that those guys were just hired by someone, and it's revealed that, shocker, Clifton is there to get revenge because 10 years ago he fucked up playing a game of spades, and they officially said his black card was revoked, and they sent him off. And then so the end is him basically doing that game again of like who's the blackest, and like going to demand a sacrifice. And I can't remember if that's where the line. Oh no, back in the first time had my other favorite line, which is gayness is just whiteness wrapped in dicks for the gay character. You knew as soon as you saw, I think as soon as you see it's Jermaine Fowler, who is like the slightly higher profile person, and then saw that his character is like a Ted Bundy, that you know he's probably going to be it, which is fine, and you accept that. And so of course you think that you see him be murdered by the killer to sort of throw us off. I really liked it, and that last sequence of their conversation was, I think, super funny. And I just want to say also another element, David, that we haven't talked about is like the central argument or the central like character conflict is that oh god, what is her name? Sorry. Lisa has gotten back together with Namdi, who they dated in college. He dogged her out, cheated on her a million times. And the friend she always went to was Dwayne. And I was like, this is really interesting. And I thought refreshing. And maybe just as a queer person, but I think in general, like, it's not a love triangle. It is that, like it is between a gay man, a straight woman, and a straight guy. But it is like the idea of like
friendship and family and betrayal in a way that if it had been romantic, it would have been fine. But I thought that was interesting to be like, you're going to abandon us. And we're kind of like, I took it as like Dwayne and Lisa were sort of like, our friendship is sort of so core to our lives that when this guy shows up, you're gonna dog me out. You're gonna abandon me because now you have a man. Now you're in a romantic relationship, and our relationship isn't as important to you. And I was like, even that, I was like, that's kind of refreshing because I was straight for a long time, so I have very close gay male friends, and that is part of the dynamic of like, I don't know, not like platonic life partners, but like they did like having really close friendships. And then when someone starts dating, it's like, okay, great. So fuck you. I don't need this anymore. I thought that was refreshing too. And then like to have it come together at the end and have them like come to sort of resolution while the same time like Lisa beating to death one of the hired killers was real. Like, I love that. I thought that was super interesting.
And then in the end, Clifton gets thrown down a well.
Yeah.
You have a lot of well-wishers here tonight, and a lot of them would like to throw you down one. A well.
A well.
They want to murder you in a well. Seems a little harsh, but apparently they want to murder you in a well.
Wonderful.
The explanation.
And there is a joke that Dwayne makes where he's like, well, that didn't end well. And then he like looks at everybody. And that was great.
Yeah.
I have a question. Would you guys recommend this movie? Sounds like you kind of would.
I would. The more we talk about it, I mean, like, it's like a watch it with your friends stoned type of like hangout movie. So I think for that, again, it's not scary, but it's a fun to watch with friends movie. So yeah, I would recommend it.
Yeah, I recommend it. I think it's definitely, passes the test of like, if you want to go out to theaters and see a horror movie, I would definitely see this before The Boogeyman. Good Lord.
Which I have not seen, but I am excited to. Was it a thumbs down from you, Bryce?
It wasn't a thumbs down exactly.
It was
It was just whatever.
Completely average.
Yeah, that's too
it's
bad.
not something that I would rush to the theater for, but
which is almost
this one,
worse.
the experience of
agree.
seeing it with people is definitely worth it.
Yeah.
I have another question. I'm sorry but which is the wider move? To vote for Trump or to vote for Biden? It seems like a valid question.
It's Trump, baby.
You think so?
Oh yeah, at this stage of the game, 100%. Yeah, maybe not for the. And I think that's the joke. He's like, I voted for Trump, and they all look at him. He goes, twice, and I think that twice is the joke. It's like even after those 4 years, baby, I still went back in. It's like you are not paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Okay, well, let's move on to our quiz and round off the show. I just straight up stole this from a website.
That's our move.
So I'm not going to take credit for creating this, but I thought this would be a fun activity.
Okay, so this is
what did I call it?
I Know Black People.
I Know Black People trivia.
Okay.
And we've got how many questions? 10? No. We've got a lot of questions. 21 questions. So we got to go through this quick. Multiple choice, and we'll see how we'll put David against Halle and see who comes out on.
And I'm just gonna say this.
Are you?
Because I know I'm going to be terrible. I'm horrible at quizzes, and also I'm currently switching my ADHD medication, so my recall is terrible. So I'm just to let you know, I'm going to eat shit on this quiz. Shout out to Black people. I apologize for how bad this is going to go.
Bryce, are you keeping score?
I'm keeping score.
Copy that.
Okay, so question 1. What is the name of the radio station Martin Payne worked on in the TV show Martin?
Fuck. No.
Was it WZUP, WNWA, HOOD, GSUP, or WNBC?
I don't.
WNBC.
I'm going to say the same as David.
You are both wrong. Oh. It's WZUP. What's up?
Oh, that's cute.
I mean,
some of those were dangerous to answer.
Also, like
number 2.
I was like, also, I watched Martin, but I was a child. I haven't retained anything.
Number 2, a small carton of juice valued at 25 cents is referred to as what? Kool-Aid, quarter water, 25-cent juice, or Sundew?
You go first this
I'm
time.
gonna say quarter water.
Yeah, quarter water sounds good.
I love that.
You're both correct. It is quarter water. I put down 25-cent juice. Yeah. That was a...
Feels like somebody cool came up with it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Okay, number 4. What is the last name of the starring family from the TV show Good Times? Johnson, Jones, Smith, Evans, or Sampson?
I'm going to say Jones.
I'm gonna say Samson.
You're both wrong. It's Evans. Number 5,
there's no way
in the
to...
movie Friday, what is Ezel's addiction?
One of the jokes about Clifton is that he never saw Friday, and much like him, I have never seen Friday.
Have you seen Friday, David?
I have.
Okay, so the choices are he smokes weed, he drinks liquor, he snorts cocaine, he smokes crack, or he smokes cigarettes.
Who's going first this time?
David, it's
I
gonna.
think you are.
I think you're gonna have to go first because I've never seen
You're
it.
going first. We're taking turns.
I'm gonna
You
say
go
crack.
first.
I'm gonna say crack.
Whoa, that is so... That's not okay. I'm going to say cigarettes.
Hallie is right. He
Yeah,
smokes
I mean,
crack.
they're not gonna make a movie where someone's addicted to cigarettes.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's
on.
so absurd. Who's addicted to cigarettes these days? Who does that?
all about
Okay,
vaping.
next one. What is Fred Sanford's son's name on the TV show Sanford and Son? Is it Jamal, Rommel, Jermaine, Lamont, or Desmond?
I think it's Desmond.
I'm gonna say Jermaine because I don't know.
I don't know either.
You're both wrong.
Yeah.
It's Lamont.
Okay. All right.
Okay, we get in. Here's
I think we could have known how
here's-
this was gonna go, right? I think we
Here's-
probably could have presumed this.
I feel
Here's
so
the softball. What is a shorty? A pretty girl, a small cigarette, a midget, a short movie, or a short distance from one place to another?
I don't think you're allowed to say midget anymore, and it is a pretty girl.
Oh, it's definitely a short distance from one place to another.
David is wrong, and Hallie is right. It's actually a pretty girl.
I just now I need to go for a shorty.
Hallie, you got any shorties?
I'm working on it. I'm
Yeah.
working on it.
Shorty. We're sitting here saying shorty.
I like it. I feel like shorty
It's
is.
not how it's pronounced.
Please
I
don't.
don't think.
Please, I beg.
I didn't.
David, I beg of you.
I don't.
Thank you.
Okay.
Addicted to cigarettes.
Who was the original host of the TV show Soul Train? Clyde Cameroon, Don Cornelius, Action Jackson, Sam Soulman Spade, or Kyle Barker?
Sam Soulman Spade.
I'm gonna say Don Cornelius because I like that name a lot.
It was Don Cornelius. If that was actually like a guess, that's a pretty good guess.
I again, you could not have picked a whiter person, and I apologize to every black person listening to this.
Okay, the next two are based on song lyrics, and I don't know these songs, so I don't know how convincing I'll be able to say them. But the
Sing
first
them
one,
like a bird.
complete this song lyric. Diamond in the back, chrome drop top, digging the scene with a blank. Is it a Maybach Benz, whip that's clean, gangster lean, pimped out beam, or a stack of green?
It's you.
It's me again. Can you repeat?
Goes back
Can
and
you repeat the lyrics, Bryce? I'm sorry.
Yeah, diamond in the back, chrome drop top, digging the scene with a
And then can you list all of the options again?
Maybach Benz, whip that's clean, gangster lean, pimped out beam, stack of green.
I'm gonna say Gangster Lean.
I'm gonna say stack of green.
Hallie is at it again. Gangster lean.
Oh man.
Great.
This one, I'm just gonna copy paste it into the chat.
Oh,
great.
wow. Okay, Bryce.
Great,
though,
great. So we're off to a great
You
start.
can't you can't.
Yeah, at this
skimp
point.
here. Just no.
No, it's not what you think.
Okay.
The song lyric starts out Ayo blank. I'm not sure what the inflection on that or how long each one of those letters is held out, but lots of A's, lots of Y's, and lots of O's.
This is like
And
a psychological experiment or something. Like
Right.
try to.
I hate this test.
And the answers to pick from are I, what, yo, yeah, or boy.
I'm gonna say yeah.
I'm gonna say what?
You're both wrong. It's I.
Fair enough.
Okay.
What song is
Tupac
that?
Sha-
Do we even have the title of the song?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
All right, fair enough.
It doesn't say. Like the other one, it says it's by Gangster Lean by Curtis Mayfield, but I'm not sure what the.
And we'll never know. We're too white. We're too white to know.
That one just might be made up.
This is a train wreck of a test. I'm gonna say this is not conclusive.
Also,
towards
I don't
any...
think anyone would have seen the three of us and think maybe they might do well.
Well, that's the joke.
Well,
The
identified
joke.
it.
okay. Number 11. Tupac Shakur played the role of what troubled teenager in the movie Juice? Was it Q, Bishop, King, himself, James Brown, or Steels?
I think it steals.
I'm gonna say King.
I don't know.
You're both wrong. It's Bishop.
What? Oh wow! I really thought it was Juice.
Okay, there's some softballs left. Don't worry, guys. You still got this.
Can it be done?
Bobby Brown was originally a part of what teenage boy band? Belle Biv DeVoe, Soul for Real, Another Bad Creation, Immature, or New Edition?
Wait, and who was saying about Bobby Brown?
Bobby Brown.
Could you read?
Bobby Brown.
Could you list them all again?
Belle Biv DeVoe, Soul for Real, Another Bad Creation, Immature, or New Edition?
New Edition.
Belle Biv DeVoe.
Hallie is correct. It's New Edition. Number 13. It ain't no fun if what occurs.
I already know the answer to this.
What
I
is
believe
it?
it's when the homies ain't got none or don't got none. If the homies can't have none. It's okay. I
I'm
was.
gonna say it's if the homies can't have none, and it was my turn to answer.
I'm
first,
sorry,
so
David.
I answered it
I'm so
right.
sorry. I'm so sorry, David.
No, it's okay. It's
I'm
okay. I
gonna give Hallie 2 points for that, and David 1 point because that is the correct answer. It ain't no fun if the
she
homies
stepped
can't
out of
have none.
line.
Sorry, and that is the whitest thing. Is we have to be. It's about the rules. More importantly, that's the most important thing.
Thank
Right.
you.
Maxine Shaw, attorney at law, is a character on what 90s sitcom?
BoJack Horseman.
The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Living Single, Martin, Moesha, or In the House?
Oh, it's your turn, so I'm gonna respect that.
I'm gonna
even
say
though I know the answer.
living single.
David?
It's Moesha.
It is Living Single.
But
Damn
I
it!
appreciate your confidence, David. For a second, I'm like, he must have really known this one. No.
For the record, I did also say Moesha because I was like, I've never seen that before, so it's got.
Now I have seen Moesha, but I haven't seen Living Single, so I was pretty sure it wasn't Moesha.
I think Living Single was. Oh, I think Living Single was the one that was ripped off by Friends.
Yes, and they joked about that in the movie where they're like, everyone knows that Friends is just a rip-off of Living Single.
Right.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
Speaking of being white, I've been going back through Friends every single night. It's great.
Well, there's also a sequence where there's one of the questions is name the 5 black people who appeared on the 10 seasons of Friends. And it's all, I want to say, it's like people's bosses and then like love interests for Ross.
Yeah.
It's like David Allen Greer. Once.
Gabrielle Union.
Okay. Number 15. Black people love Al Sharpton because.
This is a subjective. I don't even think this. You can say
You know, it's a real answer. Answer the question.
It's a real answer. So black people love Al Sharpton because he speaks the truth.
Mm-hmm.
He is a religious man. He has good hair. He is a great speaker. He speaks up for the African American community. Or black people don't like Al Sharpton, man.
It's hard because the black people I know are such specific black people.
They tend to be.
Well, I just feel like who would hang out with me. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Now I get it.
Right.
Yes. No. Every black person is a specific person. I know how reality works.
There's no gotchas here. It's a shit
Being
show.
a white is its own gotcha. Is what I'm learning from this quiz. I'm gonna say black people don't like Al Sharpton.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that.
You're both correct. Black people don't like Al Sharpton.
At least we're that in touch. I'm that in touch.
Okay, the purpose of a do-rag is to do what? Fashion, keep your head warm, match your baseball cap and outfit, protect you from dandruff, lay down your hair, or I don't know.
It is to lay down.
I don't know.
It is to
I'm
lay
gonna say
down
I
your
don't know.
hair, but I think it also is now fashion. But to lay down your hair.
I'm going to say I don't know.
It is to lay down your hair.
Why would they give the I don't know if it wasn't that?
I don't know, David.
All of these.
Yeah, all of these, because the answer to all of these could be I don't know if a white person is taking
Well, yeah,
it.
it's a trap for white people, David, and you fell right
Wow.
into it.
But I don't know.
Okay, hootie hoo is a phrase made popular by what rapper?
Damn.
Hootie.
I could hear a hootie hoo.
It's is it Snoop Dogg, Ludacris, Master P, Tupac Shakur, or P Diddy?
There's a Missy Elliott song where there's a hootie hoo, but I'm assuming that's a reference, and I don't know who. Could you list the options again, please?
Snoop Dogg, Ludacris, Master P, Tupac Shakur, or P Diddy?
Is it Snoop Dogg?
I'm going to say it's Master P.
David is correct. It's Master P. What is a nickel bag? Is it a coin purse, chump change, an ugly old woman, a $5 bag of marijuana, or 5 points?
This is a $5 bag of marijuana.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you both are correct.
But why wouldn't they call it a $5 bag?
Who knows?
No, we don't. Not us.
No.
Okay. Who is not one of the original kings of comedy? Cedric the Entertainer, Richard Pryor, Bernie Mac, Steve Harvey, or D.L. Hewley?
Hughley.
I think it's Richard Pryor, because I think he would have been before the Kings of Comedy.
Yeah, it's Richard Pryor.
You are both correct. That is not an original king of comedy. What is a skelly? Is it the equivalent of cooties, a children's game incorporating bottle caps, skeletons, an adjective for rotten food, or your head or skull? Skelly.
I'm going to say skull.
Yeah, I'm going to say skull too.
Wrong.
Oh.
It is a children's game incorporating bottle caps.
How many
is this
questions
almost
are... My
done?
God, Bryce, how long is this?
Last question.
Jiminy.
Jesus.
Direct from Chappelle Show, what is a Lucy? Is it a pipe, a promiscuous person, a loose end, a small person, a psychedelic drug, or a single cigarette?
It is a single cigarette. I've purchased them myself from a bodega in New York. Sorry, David.
Well,
I'm sorry.
that sounds really definitive and stuff, but it's a psychedelic drug given by David. What's his name? From whose line is it anyway?
Okay. Okay, so that's the last question.
Which was it?
It was a single cigarette.
Damn it!
Hallie won. Hallie beat David soundly
Yay!
with 14 points, which I think is better than mine. I got 50% out of 21. So, Hallie, out of all the horror movie talk hosts, you are the most in tune with black
Well, I will
culture.
say I was in a relationship with a black man for 3 years, so if I had done worse than that, I would have been truly embarrassed. And I still ate shit, so I'm glad I did as well as I did.
I have to go on a shorty after this, so
No, is that you just furiously walking on the sidewalk, I imagine?
yeah. Well, a short walk.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Well, thank you again for coming, Hallie.
Thank you for
go
having
see
me.
Blackening in theaters. This episode is produced by Fart Simpson. Thanks to him and for all of our patrons. I guess I should pull
Wait,
up. Our
where can people find you, Hallie?
Oh, well, so you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Halle Kiefer, or you can follow the podcast at Ruined Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And, of course, you can listen to Ruined anywhere wherever podcasts are sold. You can check us out. And, yeah, thank you so much for having me, you guys. This was fun.
Thank you for coming on. You were a great guest. We'd love to have you back sometime.
Thank you. It was a treat having, like, because I do feel like I watched the movie, I'm like, this could be horrible, then what the conversation, but what a treat to be like, I had a good time, and now we get to talk about it. Go see.
Yeah, that's always nice.
And like, people were, like, clapping at the Nicole Kidman AMC video, because we live in LA, so it's just like, I don't know. People were going nuts.
Right.
And even that, I'm like, go see, if you can, go to the cinema, go back to the movies. It's just more fun to see it with people.
Yeah, definitely. Although
All right,
this is
everyone.
available on Vudu, so for $25.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, is it too?
So if you're the biggest fool in the world, go ahead and spend your money that way.
She said it.
So again, just final plugs. Share the podcast with a friend. Help us out. Go to horrormovietalk.com. And if you want to call us, call 682-253-4468. We'll see you next time. We love you.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. You lose. You get nothing. Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is.
I just took a stroll through the scraggly woods.
He had no face.
Horror!
Wow, that didn't sound good.